Draft Season Podcast. We're back. More NBA Draft 2022 analysis. We are here to talk about one of the interesting wing prospects, slated to go in that top 10, top 15 range, probably a little higher than that, depending on who you ask it, but no other than Johnny Davis out of Wisconsin, sophomore, another wing who went back to better himself and get a little bit of feel to his game. I'm with Sean 5K. Please talk to him.
Yeah, man. Johnny Davis might have the most impressive accomplishment out of any of these lottery kids about to get drafted. He made Wisconsin basketball interesting. I don't know how he did it, but for the first time in perhaps ever, Wisconsin basketball was actually fun to watch because of the presence of this kid, Johnny Davis. One of my favorite players to watch in this draft. He had a pretty interesting route. 3-star recruit out of Wisconsin. Chose to stay home and play for the Badgers. In terms of what he did, and I know we spoke about this on the pod earlier in the season, in the Big Ten, being one of the best conferences in college basketball, being one of the most competitive conferences by far with a lot of the best teams. Wisconsin was predicted to finish ninth by Sports Illustrated during their preseason preview, and they ended up earning a share of the regular season title in large facet because of Johnny Davis. So, before we do get into it, what did you make of Johnny's season?
Wisconsin, was very good in that Big Ten conference. Like you mentioned, we often talk about how tough that conference is, and every night is going to be a dogfight. Johnny Davis last year got to the line extremely well. He's somebody who averaged, I think it was either between 5 or 6 free throws a game. And at the college level where that game is slow and murky sometimes, free throws are an important way to put points on the board when you're watching those CBS 12 o'clock 35 to 35 second half games in the Big Ten. So free throw, getting to the line is important. He doesn't waste any dribbles. And I think that's something I look for in guards a lot. He's somebody who's very decisive with his move. 1, 2, 3, boom, I'm getting into my shot. And, we are the and one generation. And shout out to and one. And, people do love the highlights and the dribbling, but there's something about simplicity and knowing what move you want, knowing the defender can't stop it and not playing with your food. So if you're able to get your 2-dribble pull-up mid-range, boom, that's the shot Johnny Davis takes. And he's another mid-range merchant. And I think, there's a few of them in this draft, and he's probably one of the best. And he's somebody who plays within himself and plays within his game. And he has a pretty solid, frame. He can add some weight on it for sure. But, he gets his shot off when he wants. The pull-up is incredible for me. I think so. And I think as he starts to expand his range, his mechanics from mid-range and free throw are all good, and I think that points to becoming a solid 3-point shooter at the next level as well.
The difference in roles from year 1 to year 2, he was kind of their defensive guy, one of their most important wing defenders as a freshman, and he was kind of the alpha and the omega when it came to the Wisconsin offensive ecosystem. So he definitely blossomed into a one-man offensive hub that brought the versatility and just the offensive prowess to get him a shot in any way whenever he needs it. Raz, you brought up the 1-dribble pull-up, and yeah, Johnny's mid-range ability and his ability to really, I'm not going to throw out any names, but there's some NBA All-Stars that his game flashes the likes of. When we talk about Johnny Davis, I wouldn't mistake him for an elite athlete by NBA standards, but he operates on the offensive side of the floor as like a technician. And you hit it on my, before I could even read it off my notes, Raz, but yeah, he every dribble, every move he has is set up with a purpose. And even when it comes to ball screen situations, and he isn't necessarily the best passer, but when it comes to use of a ball screen as a scorer, he's able to throw his defender into the screen, project the screen to get to his dribble pull up. One of the most impressive shot makers in this class. I think if we just scouting the stat line, it's not really going to read off that way. It's one of those things that you have to take with context. And the context of that Wisconsin offense is he had to create everything, and nobody else is really getting him any type of easy baskets. He does combine the burst and the first step with a functional handle that I'm gonna say functional. It can improve. I would definitely say the handle can be loosened at times, and it can be stripped when he's dribbling in traffic. Usage rate during the sophomore season was a hearty 33% of the team's possessions, which showed off his skill set. Over the course of the season, it kind of just made the weaknesses kind of glaring, which ended up hurting his overall efficiency. He shot around 31% from 3-point range as a shooter. I mean, you spoke about the shot and not fully buying into the shot. So what are your concerns on that level?
And it's not about not fully buying in. I think his shot selection is something that's going to have to improve. I think he had to step into a role last year that was that he proved to be ready for and willing to accept. But I do think with some of his shot selection, his efficiency kind of dipped there. I think, earlier I said he has the mechanics, and I have the confidence in his mid-range and his free throws. So I do believe he has the ability to extend his range. I think it's just going to come with better looks. And being that he's going to fall to a team that he doesn't have to be the go-to scorer on, and, he has played in a complementary role, obviously in his freshman year, I think that's going to be something where he's going to be able to earn minutes being that off-ball scorer, where the focus isn't going to be on him, hence he'll have better looks.
And we'll get into the defense in a moment. But I think overall, he's shown the ability to play in different roles from his freshman to his sophomore season. And I think he's also shown a solid understanding of just offensive dynamics that should improve over time as he picks up more experience. I wouldn't call him an advanced passer, but he's shown the ability to read the floor and use the effect of his scoring gravity into turning that into opportunities for his teammates. I think at the next level, that's another thing that he's probably going to have to be, even a little bit more of a willing passer and, being a little bit more creative. And he'll miss his reads from time to time, but I do think that's something that he's going to be able to improve on. He also moves really well without the ball. If he's able to use screens to get open really effectively, he can throw in jabs, false steps, head moves, and pace variation, which combined with, taking really good angles, curling off of screens, it makes him a tough cover of somebody who's able to get downhill even when the ball isn't in his hand. He's also pretty aggressive when it comes to like fronting, smaller guards. If you throw a smaller guard on him and getting those easy duck-ins. Getting into the defense for a second, because I do think he's a pretty rugged defender who, once again, battles through screens. He's able to fight on switches and close out effectively. His defense is actually his most underrated trait. And I think when he gets to the next level and he's able to focus, hone in more on the defensive aspect of the court, we're talking about somebody who can really be a solid point of attack defender. But what do you make about his defense, though, Red?
I think defensively, he's fine. Like, I think that's the best way to put it. Like, I think he has the ability to be an above average defender. He brings the energy on that side of the ball. And I think that's where he's going to be able to crack rotations in the NBA early on if his shot and things aren't falling. Like, his effort on defense is above average, and he's somebody who's willing to fight. And I think that is Big Ten basketball, by the way. Like, that is something where all of those guards and those wings and even the bigs, is rugged and it's a tough league. So you have to at least bring the intensity on that side of the ball, unless you're Jaden Ivey.
Yeah, so I think I'm buying the Johnny Davis stock. I think he's gonna settle in as I think he has potential to be an above average starter on a really good team, a scoring guard who's able to create for himself, shooting off the dribble, use his handle and burst to really put pressure on the rim in pick and roll as a playmaker. So just talking about the defense and how he's able. I think we talk about screen navigation, which is something that the aforementioned Jaden Ivey really struggled with, just fighting around screens, being a step late. Johnny's effort level and just his motor and his work rate on defense is extremely high. That's something that's going to translate, because you can't, when we actually get into the fine lines of what really make somebody, the differences between the margins between being good and great. You can't teach effort like that. Let's talk about fit for a second. Johnny has a pretty interesting range of where he might end up on draft night. But we talk about some of the favorite landing spots for Johnny.
Now, if he had a bad day and fell out, of the lottery, I would love to see him go to the Hawks. I think that's a team that could use him at that two guard position. But being more of not wanting the young man to lose any money on his table or his plate, I wouldn't mind seeing him fall to the Pelicans. The Blazers are another option. I think the Blazers probably would be the better option than the Pelicans. There's a logjam there now with CJ, but I mean that's somebody that he would be great learning under.
In Portland too.
I mean, yeah, but I don't.
Yeah, Simon still is there.
Simon is there, but I don't. I'm not seeing it. He probably will get the bag, but it's not as much of a logjam, I think, with some of the stuff out there in New Orleans. The Pacers is probably a shot where he'll get some playing time early. That team looks like they're trying to rebuild, and a backcourt of him and Halliburton is something that I would sign up to watch. So those are probably the three spots I'd go with.
In the back half of the lottery, which I don't expect him, I have him higher than this, but like we said, if he has a bad night and he does fall, I think that landing spot in Cleveland, possibly. If we talk about, we don't know the long-term future of the Garland and Colin Sexton backcourt. I think he is somebody who could slot in pretty well next to a Darius Garland. If he's at 11 for the Knicks, I don't know, man. I think that's kind of just like, that would be best player available for me at 11 with the Knicks. I don't love any of the spots for him in the top half of the lottery for Johnny Davis. So I think that, kind of throws a monkey wrench into it. There's a lot of, just spots that, is he going to be able to get his game off to the best of his ability? And I'm not sure what spot that really is for him in the lottery. I think a lot of these teams have their guards of the future and, know the guys they want to play around and play with. So I think it's going to be interesting. But overall with Johnny, man, I think it's going to be pretty hard pressed for him. Only way I could see him, faltering at the NBA level is just if the shot does not translate. So I'm buying my Johnny Davis stock if anyone is selling. But Raz, any last takes on Johnny Davis?
I think he has the ability to be a highly productive player in this league. Like you said, it's about fit, with a lot of these prospects. I would love to see him drop and fall to some of those teams that could use him a bit more. But for his pockets, I would love to see him get drafted as early as possible. But I'll say, like even when you said, something like the Knicks, I would be cool with that. But yeah, Johnny Davis, very productive prospect, and I think he's probably one of the best wings in this draft.
Make sure you guys are subscribed and are liking these videos. We'll be back with more content sooner than later.